Good morning, everybody. This is Miss T. I wanted to come on here and do something different. I do have some uploads that if you go back, uh, I talk about just about everything. But I did a upload about protecting your children, and I wanted to go over some of that. It's getting ready to be summertime, and kids are going to be out more. And so we have to be fully aware of where our kids are, what they're doing, who they're with at all times. This world is evil. With this, we're in the age of trafficking. We're in the age of serial unalivers. We're just in the age of evil, and we can we can't let our kids just unfortunately be free, and you can't take your eyes off of them because one minute they're there and the next minute they're gone. I talked a lot about the things that some people are polite to the point where they're like, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, but you're putting your child in danger. So you would rather have to deal with something that your child is going to go through, and then whether they're scared to tell you or not, when they get older, they're going to come to you and tell you what happened, and probably have a whole, thing about how come you didn't protect them. With kids, there's no hurting people's feelings. Kids cannot protect themselves, especially little kids. And so, as a parent, that's your job. There shouldn't really be anything called sleepovers anymore at all. Birthday parties, yeah, but your child should be getting picked up, especially if you don't know the family. That would be, well, you should know the family, but I'm not going to tell nobody how to run their home. If I'm giving a slumber party, I want to know every parent. That's when I used to. I don't do them anymore. Get to know every parent and everything about this. Wouldn't you want to know who your children are, whose roof they're staying under? You don't know if they have, other people staying there with you. You just don't know. And it's better safe to be sorry, because it's going to be at the mercy of the children. They're going to have to be the ones to go through what they're going through, or what would happen to them if they're not being protected. Kids can't go to the park by themselves at all. So if your child wants to go to the park, you will need to accompany it. You need to go with them, accompany them, because it's safe. I mean, you can get a little exercise or sit in the park while they play, but you'll feel much better knowing your kids are coming home. I can't imagine a parent or parents sitting and waiting to hear something about their missing child, about not knowing where they're at and not knowing what is happening to them. And if we start doing our part as parents and as caring citizens, we can deter these sick people from thinking that they can go on the street and just do their shopping and pick up whomever. We need to let them know they're being watched, and we're not going to stand by and let you just take over. There is no reason why another human being should be interested in a child that does not belong to them or belong in their family or anything. There's no reason a man should stop and ask kids for directions. There's no need that they should stop and ask them, do they want candy? nothing. So what you have to do is prepare your children for the wicked world that is outside. I suggest that kids all walk in groups, and where you go together, you stay together, and when it's time to leave, you leave together. And if well, this is the age of phones, so I'm pretty sure almost every kid has one, because we're not trying to scare them, but you have to let them know a little something so they can stay safe. So yes, parents, don't send your kids around the corner to the corner store because you need a can of nutmeg. If you didn't have it, go yourself. I mean, or walk with your child. I don't know, but a child should never be alone at all, ever. And that includes running errands, and doing all the things that you used to be able to do back in the day that should not be done anymore. We take chances a lot with different things, but a child's life and their livelihood and their future depends on how you're taking care of them. Like I said, you don't have to scare them, but you have to make them aware that some things are not right for adults to do, and some things kids shouldn't be around. In this day and age, they see far more than they should, listening to rap music and watching movies that they probably shouldn't be watching, or playing games that are too mature for them. And so, of course, they're going to be interested in these things and wonder, what's going on. But we need to keep them in a child's place. The child shouldn't be in a grown-up's conversation, laughing and giggling and adding their 2 cents in. It's not cute for the child to tell your parents to clock that and all that. It's not cute. I know it looks cute because they're just babies, but instead of clocking that, they could be learning another language. There's always jobs for interpreters. You need an interpreter in just about every profession. And so, since they can learn so well, get them into speaking other languages to guarantee their future, to help their future, with a gift that they would have that a lot of people won't have. And so they would be sought after. Because like I said, the more people that are coming from other countries, we have to learn their language. And this is why I say we have to, because how else? Most of them, work, or you get them on the phone or whatever. You have to be able to communicate with them. What I really am adamant about, because I've said it several times in several of my uploads, I do not believe that teenagers should date while they're in school, high school. They should be getting their education, deciding what they want to do in life, being active in sports, and just being free, not worried about, if you didn't make it in time, home in time, that your 15, 16-year-old boyfriend told you to. There are plenty of times you're not equipped to handle adult situations. You shouldn't have to be in places where you have to decide if you're going to allow him to tell you have to drop out of cheerleading because you're not spending enough time with him. or whatever the girl would say to the guy that you're not, that you're not doing. She might pressure him into sex and he's not ready. So that's just my opinion about teenagers dating. They should be able to go through high school happy. That's their good years, especially when they're a senior and they're getting ready to go out into the world. They should be able to just be with their friends and make decisions and sign up to colleges and visit colleges together without that pressure, without making decisions that you shouldn't really have to, because you're not really an adult. So if you're noticing things different, if your child is acting differently, if your friend is acting differently, if you notice bruises, or if you notice just anything, people always want to say, I'm not getting into it, but these are the people that you love and you want to be safe and you want to help. And there's been so many chances to help women who are not here anymore because nobody either took the signs seriously or just didn't want to get involved. I did talk about before, if you are a teenager and you get pregnant by a boy, I'm going to say because y'all are teenagers, and he tells you that he does not want the baby, and you decide to keep your baby, you have to be cautious, because men are so fearful of paying child support. Now, this thing has been hanging over people's heads, and some of the talk is one way, the other. Men feel like men shouldn't have to pay that much child support to a woman and she doesn't deserve it or whatever, and the woman should make sure that she's protected. If the man doesn't want to pay child support or have kids out of wedlock or have kids by different women, he should be protected and make sure that he's not, that these things aren't happening. But the reason why I say you have to be extra cautious, because there's too many stories of men unaliving the child and the mother. So what a sign would be, if the man tells you he does not want that baby, if you keep the baby, I'm not going to have nothing to do with it. Don't ask me for nothing. I'm going to say it's not mine, that type of stuff. And then they leave you for 9 months to go through that by yourself. And then one day they call you and say, I want to see the baby. Can you meet me in the park? Now, some young girls, most young girls, wouldn't get a red flag. They would think, oh, he's coming around and maybe he wants to be a part of the child's life and do what he's supposed to do. I would go with my gut instinct. He said he didn't want that baby and he doesn't want to take care of it. It's not, now he's not had a change of mind where and why does he want to meet you in the park? Why doesn't he want to meet you where people are? And I'm saying this because it's a true story. He talked the girl into meeting him at the park so he could see his baby. And he didn't waste any time. He strangled her, and then he took the baby and threw her in the river. And so the evil minds of people, you have to always be on guard. If it doesn't sound right, it's not right. Don't take any chances. I know some women are like, I just want my child to have a father, and I understand that. But sometimes it's better off not to have one than to have the one that you've picked for. You know, there's a man who admitted that he gave the baby antifreeze because he didn't want the baby. There's missing pregnant women all over the United States because a man didn't want to have a baby, and instead of making sure that didn't happen, doing it the responsible way, they wait till, you know, and it doesn't make sense to me, because I would be thinking of who are the people they're going to come to when the baby and the mother come up missing. They're always going to come and look at the baby's father, but they don't care about that. They're mad because they told you they didn't want to have a baby, and you did it anyway. It's just that this world is not going to get any better. It's not going to change, only for the worse. There's men who have taken their kids, and because they're mad at their mothers, they've unalived the kids to get back at their mothers. You don't know what goes through a person's mind on a daily basis, what their demons they're fighting, what they're going through, or what they're thinking. So you have to think for the both of you. You protect your kids at all times. There is a thin line between, you know, in this era, I have never seen as many people who hate each other and they share children. They, you know, the mom's on one side telling the child that dad ain't nothing. The dad's on one side saying your mom is not, you know, I give her money and she's not spending it on you, or he feels that she's not using the money in a wise way, or, you know, just all this. And it's not doing anything but hurting a child. You can have safety measures. Let everybody in your family know, especially if you're being threatened by your kids' father. If you're being threatened, wherever your kids go need to be safe. So, mom to dad's house, if he knocks on the door, and it's pretty sad that you have to get other people involved, but you have to do what you have to do. Go get a restraining order. Move out of town. I moved out of town. It was an inconvenience, but I felt that the safety of was more important. There's some people who have the mentality of they rather see you not here than see you enjoying your life or going on with your life and being happy somewhere else. And they don't have anything to lose because they feel like they've already lost, you know, what they thought they had. And that's why we have to always keep ourselves prayed up and pray for others, because you don't know what's on someone else's mind. You don't even know that you might have a secret admirer, and he's, you know, he thinks you're wonderful and all, but one thing you do, you might say something that triggers him, and you don't even know that this man thinks you're his whole world, and then he comes after you. People have mental illness. People are working with the devil. Sin makes no sense. People are so full of themselves, so full of evil thoughts, evil doings, that they can't control the emotions that go through them, and so they just explode off of that emotion. You're the one there. Some of them go as far as I can't get a hold of you, so I'm going to go and to your mom and dad and harm them, or your sister and brother, or whatever. And it's sad that, sometimes women, you have to just keep your eyes open. I know men are slick talking. They have a way of making you feel like you're special, or you're the one, or whatever. You just have to keep your eyes open. When you see those first signs, or you see something that you don't think is right, you have to get out of. You can't. There's no second chances. There's no. He was just having no. Especially if he hits you. The first time you are hit should very well be the last. He can't, you hear all the sorry. You might even hear you made him do it. They'll never do it again. All that is not those are just words. If you don't get out then, it might be too late for you. Take classes to protect yourself. Have things in order that, look out for your child. The schools not to let so and so pick them up, or anything. Your kids they may have a new bike, but you're going to have to do stuff differently. You're going to have to get you a bike and take them on the bike trail. They can't ride their bikes around the neighborhood, because it is not safe anywhere for babies, children, women. It's not safe for men either, but some of the things that are happening to women and children are really happening to the men. These women, they want women and children to traffic, and that's why their life is so in danger, because they're constantly looking to do this. There's so many missing children and women. It's ridiculous. And you would think in America, where it's great and wonderful, that they would do what they could to protect make these trafficking laws more stricter, or have more people at the borders or whatever. And but everything is designed for a reason. And I'm just saying that you would rather have your child home safe with you than not ever knowing where they're at, or a couple of months from now they found remains. Just nobody will want to go through that. That can't be good for anyone, and how they heal, and if they can't heal excuse me, heal. You have to constantly be with God. God is the only one that can protect you. When you pray and ask for protection, and you pray and ask for anything that you you feel that you need to have protection for. I don't believe kids should be watching kids, babysitting kids, because they're kids themselves, and they're not really equipped. They're not equipped to protect the children because they're a child. Person comes knocking at the door. You've told them not to answer the door, but this person said it's the police department, they need to get in, and they're torn and they don't know, and they're scared and they're whatever, and so they open the door, and there you go. Let's not put the kids in any position to make grown-up decisions. Let's not put them in any position to be harmed, kidnapped, or anything. Let them be kids. I'm sure there's parents that say, there's nothing wrong with my teenage daughter dating on my teen, and that's fine. But you're going to have to be the voice of reason on how that goes, because if he can get her far enough away where she's listening to him, he can start making her do things that you've asked her not to do, like break curfew, or he might talk her into having sex, or anything. And so our minds need to be on protecting our kids, protecting the babies. Shouldn't be any babies, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, outside playing by themselves. When you're in the grocery store or Walmart or the mall, your baby shouldn't be walking 10 steps behind you or 10 steps up in front of you. They need to be at your side at all times, even if you have to put your 7-year-old in a stroller and push him on down. Whatever. You can make yourself look silly, goofy, people can laugh, whatever, but your child will be with you and will go home with you safely. People come up with more schemes all the time to get things that don't belong to them, or to do things to people who, to cause them harm. There's a lot of envious and jealousy, and that the only thing they want to see is that person hurt, and and so they'll do whatever that takes, and it's at the benefit most of kids. Innocent kids have nothing to do with anything. All they know is that they have a parent who loves them and is supposed to protect them, and that's all they know. They don't know that sometimes a parent might not be in a position to protect them. Might be someone in your own family who's harming your child. So, like I said, that you have to be mindful. There is too much hurt, too much pain, and too much to sift through to get help when a child has gone through a tragic childhood or a tragedy in their childhood. Not to say they can't overcome it, but it does affect their life. It stays in their mind, and then they might go overboard, and their kids aren't even allowed to leave the house. So yes, we're in the day and age where you can't trust anybody. You can't, you gotta watch the teachers and the school bus driver. You gotta make sure the kids when you're taking them to camp, that if any of those workers have a criminal record, because people can get hired and people can overlook their past, and just everything to keep them safe and happy. And when you have safe and happy, growing, loving children, that's how they turn out to be as an adult. I think most of the people who are adults who have serious mental issues, mental health problems, are dealing with tragic things that happened to them when they were younger. And they're still trying to fight those demons. Instead of getting help, they turn to drugs, or they turn to alcohol, they turn to sex, or they turn to whatever, and they didn't really get what's in, heal what's really inside of them. They just masked it with these type of things, and then their life spirals out of control. Men, be in your kids' life. You love your child. Make sure that you have a say in their life, because sometimes these mothers don't give a darn, or not doing their job, or halfway doing their job. Where it used to be women's love for a child, they had this warm feeling or motherly feeling, and their kids were so special. That's gone. Sometimes the mother just, feels that the kid is a burden, and she can't do anything, because she started having kids at a young age, and she's just giving them the basics, or a little less than the basics, and they're being traumatized. You go to school hungry, you can't learn. If the mom is abusing the child can't concentrate in school because they know they have to, when the bell rings, they're going to have to go back home. And it's so sad because when you try to help children and they have DHS involved, it's usually disastrous, because I don't know what their policy is, but there's been too many children who have been unalived sent back to their parents that were abusing them. If you have a family, we should do, it should be like the old days. I remember the movie, I think it was Bastard Out of Carolina. I can't remember, but she was being molested by her mother's boyfriend, and the family found out, and the whole family beat him down to a bloody pulp, where he never touched her again, but her mother took his side. But my point would be, that would be a deterrent. If the whole group of family, men, women, jumped you and broke your arm and gave you black eyes and you had stitches everywhere, I think you would think twice about doing it again. They need to go to jail. Why are we concerned about their feelings? If they're going to lose their job and go to jail because of some sick act that they chose to do against a child, we don't feel sorry for you that you're going to lose your job. Look at all the things that child lost. Just be mindful. I know parents mainly are looking out for their kids, but just simple things. Just pay attention to simple things, like how kids, because when something's going wrong, especially with little kids, they don't know how to hide something. They don't know how to hide. They'll act differently. They'll act scared when someone comes around, or they don't want to, be in the same room or anything. You need to be aware of this and nip it immediately. If you see your child, if your brother comes through the door and your child starts shaking, raises up and runs into a room or whatever, you need to you need to talk to her and convince her that your mama, you're going to take care of it. It's going to be all right. Tell mama what's going on so she can take care of it. You need to let that child know that it's going to be taken care of. You're not going to have to deal with this anymore. There's so much pain that's going on in the world, and it's due to a lot of things. But if you can even if you had to go through that, even if your childhood was horrible, or you had traumatic feelings or whatever, wouldn't you want to make sure that your child did not have to go through any of that? You know how it feels, and you know how you struggle to maintain yourself or try to do better and make a life for yourself. You don't want to inflict that pain on your children. You want them to have a happy home and a happy childhood. And it starts with the home. You have to keep constantly in prayer with God. You have to seek God. You have to obey God's word and have him be over your home, be over your, especially if you're a single mother, because there's more added pressure being a single mother or a single father. You have to take care of everything, and some things can slip away from you, or some things can be overlooked. So you have to constantly pray and ask God to put a hedge of protection over you and your family, to keep you confident that you're never tired, to investigate that no one's out of range, nobody gets a pass, nobody can talk their way out of anything, that you get to the bottom of it, all of it, just don't have the kid feel like they can't talk, or you're not going to believe them, and then they feel more petrified because that person said that they were not going to believe you and what he would do to you if you told. Also, the swimming pools are going to be packed. Kids are going to want to go swimming, and there are a lot of drowning accidents that happen during the summer. I don't advise, unless your child, I don't advise children under the age of 12, 13 to be at maybe even 14 and up, be at the swimming pool without supervision, and they should most definitely know how to swim. If you send the younger kids with their brother or sister to the swimming pool, your child is there, she's having fun, and by no means is she trying to put your child in danger, but she just turns her head for a minute, and you know how kids are splashing and doing all, and she gets pushed in the pool and nobody pays attention until it's too late. So you have to have rules, guidelines, you have to stick to them to ensure that your child is okay, they come home okay. And I already said about, kids need to go in packs. You need to teach your kids what when strangers come to them and talk to them, what they need to do, which in my case is scream. They say scream fire because more people will come out if you scream fire than help. Now, put that in your mind. And that they should know. You don't know them. Nobody's coming to tell. I'm not sending anyone to tell you to come pick you up. I'm not some stranger you don't know is not doing me a favor and picking you up, and none of that. All the whatever tactics that they use to entice children, you should let them know them tactics. And plus, they should never be alone, ever. Never walk alone. Never walk to the school stop alone. Never go to the store. Never walk over to their friend's house alone. Never take a shortcut through the woods to get to your other friend's house. Never knock on the door and you're standing there and you don't know, and you're asking where's your friend at, and they said she's not here, but you can come in and sit, and you can just know to I'll come back when she's home. We have to teach our kids kind of not like scaring them to death, but they need to be scared. There's no way of putting that. They need to be aware. They need to know what would happen if they get themselves in these situations and they don't follow their gut. I always tell children, well, I can only tell, but this is my theory, and you see, if a man comes up and he's in a car and he pulls a gun on you and tells you to get in the car, my theory is to not get in the car. You do whatever. If he's going to shoot you, I'd rather have you shot there, take a chance of living, or maybe you won't. But that is better to me than having a child being tortured and then unalived. So however you can do, you can, before a car gets close to you, you don't have to try to look and see who's in the car. You take off running the other way. They have a gun, take off running. They're not really trying to draw attention to themselves. So if they shoot, that would be bringing the heat on them. That is just what they use to scare you. Nobody they have a gun, and nobody thinks that he has the upper hand because he has the gun. He's going to have the upper hand if you get in that car. And so, however you feel, you need to believe and trust in God, that you can, He can protect you from this. There's a lot of other things kids are experimenting with all these TikTok things and stuff on YouTube, and they're inhaling and eating and doing all kinds of things that are influencing them. To some of the kids are being unalive trying these crazy stunts, and I don't know what the epidemic of children or teenagers who like to live on the dangerous side or don't really care if they're here or not. I don't know what goes through their minds, but as a child, you do kind of think you're invincible. And maintain a conversation with your kids, maintain a relationship with your kids, let them know that you're interested in who their friends are, you're interested in who your friends' parents are, you're interested in the person who they think is the one for them, or whatever. Children do say, my mom makes me mad, she wants me I have to get off the phone at such and such time, and your friend says, I don't have a curfew, I can be on the phone all day long. And I was on the phone, I met this man on the post, and he's told me to meet him somewhere after 12. And then you never see your friend again. You know deep down inside that your parent loved you enough to keep you protected. Kick down bedroom doors, don't nobody pay bills, and so that's still your house. I can't understand how teenagers are able to make bombs in their bedroom, and they're under the roof of their parents. I'd take doors off the hinges. They don't, tell them to go back to the old days and have beads hanging down off their door. But there's no secrets here, and you don't have space that I need to stay out of. You're living in my space, and I'm allowing you to live here because you're my child, and I love you, and I want to take care of you. But you're not going to be able to have a vote or a petition signed that things aren't going the way you want, because you don't get to be on the computer past an hour, and you can't play certain video games, and certain people can't come over to visit, and you can never go over to your friend's house and spend the night, and you're not going to let your daughter go to a mall with her friend's uncle who drives a creepy van, and you don't know him. They'll thank you later. They'll know you loved them and you kept them protected. There's some kids that wish that their parents would be strict on them. That lets them know that they care about you. They don't care if you just run around, run amok, or in the streets doing whatever. That they care about you. They want you to have a good life. Yeah, we need to have more talks and teach our children that they're not too young to learn what they need to know. There's so much more I can say, but like I said, these are some of the topics that I have in past uploads. I just can't, I don't know the name of the title. If you go down the list and you have, it pretty much probably tells you what the upload is about, but there's a lot of different things that I share, how to, help the community, and how black women should stop being each other's enemies, and black men and black women shouldn't be enemies. We're not enemies. Why are we fighting? What happened to make us divide so hard? Why is there such a problem? And if you knew, I don't know what would take for people to understand that this is the design. You're following exactly what the design was meant to do. Keep people separated so they don't come together and say, you know what, if we do something about something, we can end this. Let's stop purchasing all the items that they make, and let's see how they like you. When you hit them in the pocket, they don't like that. How do you think Martin Luther King got some of their rights? They stopped riding the buses, and it was hitting them in their pockets. And we consume most of every name brand, whatever out there: shoes, purses, jeans, anything. We consume that. We make them rich, and then we get, disrespected or treated like the second-class citizen. Hit them in their pockets. Buy from black-owned businesses or minority businesses. And when Jordan's not making the record sales, he'll start to wonder what's going on. See what they did to Target. They stopped going to Target, and their sales were dramatically low. Some people don't believe, they don't want to, because they have to stay. The fit has to be fresh. My integrity has to wait because I need the new Jordans. I want that chain, and that's what we decide. But I'm not going to go into that. So yeah, I really did this to because the summer's coming. We need to make sure we're watching our children, and I'm going to probably not do some uploads for a while, so I'm asking you to go back to some of the older ones and listen to those. They're very helpful also. And once again, I'd like to thank all the people who support my channel, have been here since day 1 or 2 or 3. I appreciate you very much, and I hope everyone has the rest of their week is beautiful and uplifting. And until next time.